Hawaii. This is Pokalai Nui, and you are listening to Hawaiian Potpourri. Today is the first day of September in the year 2012. We are discussing national or American politics. Republicans, Democrats. What is the defining character of the campaign that is being carried out now? And what is the defining character of the mass of voters, or those who are being, or who are allowed, or who will be voting? Because, of course, there's a campaign to squash the many voices of the voters. Some say that the Republicans are guided more by emotions, by religious belief systems, and they will tout those things, very patriotic statements coming out, everyone having an opportunity in this democratic society to become part of the 1%. The Democrats are saying that we should be guided by science and a more rational basis of exploring what the evidence are and how to build a better society in that way. And voters are all over the spectrum, both having strong emotions as well as trying to be rational, not necessarily at the same time, or not necessarily all the voters, but it's sort of spread out. So that's part of the discussions. How do we deal with the facts? And people are not at times willing to take a look at all of the facts. One of our callers had been talking about what are the facts, talking about the economy, and let's take a serious look at these questions of what the Republicans and what the Democrats have proposed or have been working on. I also spoke about the international arena and why is that being left out of the debate. Let's go to our caller. We do have two callers waiting on the line. We'll go to our first caller. Aloha caller, welcome to the program.
Good evening.
Yes, good evening.
I forgot to mention a few more significant facts, all of which can be verified.
Okay.
With the exception of the Second World War, the increase in the national debt, the amount of increase in the national debt was greater under Republican administrations than Democratic administrations. The Second World War was a world war fought on two fronts, Europe and the South Pacific. It was a very costly war. During that war, the top tax bracket for the wealthy was 90%. The Iraqi-Afghan wars occurred during a tax cut, where the top bracket, where a man like Romney paid only 13% taxes. You see, they're talking about cutting benefits to the American people who have worked all their lives and paid taxes all their lives, but they're not talking about revenue enhancements. Even former senator from Montana, what's his name, Simmons or something like that.
Okay.
He said that you have to have an increase in revenue and cuts in benefits. Both must occur. You cannot cut the national debt with only cuts, and American people will never allow cuts to their Social Security. So, and another thing is that the Afghan and Iraq war cost more than $2 trillion on borrowed money. Another kind of lie they repeat over and over again. They talk about the $716 billion that the Obama plan will cut from Social Security. A total lie. That's a reduction in Social Security cost on the provider side. Right. Insurance companies and the doctors that overcharge. You see. And Paul Ryan's budget has the same cut of $716 billion on the benefit side.
That's true.
But they hop away on. Obama is going to cut $716 billion from your Social Security. So in panic, they push the button for Romney.
Yeah.
But you see, you have to be informed. You have to read credible sources, watch credible news sources. And although they won't take my word for it, because they will live and die with Fox News. Fox News is the worst place to have credible information.
You're right. Okay, thank you very much. Mahalo for your call. Aloha. And if you would like to call and share your opinion, our telephone number is 524-1080. And if you don't want to share an opinion but would like to share some facts, you can call us as well. Let's go to our next caller. Aloha caller. Welcome to the program.
Wow, what a stimulating show today with so many callers. Thank you for facilitating this program.
Yes, you're welcome. I'm enjoying it and I'm learning so much as well.
It's terrific. I wanted to kind of see if I can pull together some of the important points that were articulated by different callers. That last caller talking about the national debt and how it relates to tax cuts for the wealthy. I think the other two areas that are contributing to that is the ever-increasing military spending and the output of money for Medicaid and Medicare, which is increasing. And if there is one way to help bridge the gap between the rich and the non-rich, or the super-rich and the non-super-rich, it's through progressive tax cuts and more equity in taxing the wealthy folks. I have not seen a presidential election where there are such clear-cut boundaries on ideological principles since Barry Goldwater and Johnson went at it in the late 60s. And I think it's important for us to know, and I think your listenership is aware of the Republicans and the Democrats' position and how different they are. I know that there are things like organized labor is something that the Republican Party at the state legislative and Congress, Senate, House of Representatives is working to dismantle using Wisconsin as a model for doing that. And it looks like there's increasing support for vouchers for Medicaid and Medicare, which will underserve many people and eliminate a lot of folks from health care, especially later in life. We heard at the Republican convention how the Romney, Ryan, and entire Republican Party is committed to increasing jobs by having a pipeline from Canada down to Texas and to look at oil drilling in the Arctic. So there's a clear difference in the environmental issues. The reproductive rights of women is clearly under attack by the Republican Party, as you had said, no abortions even with rape, where the Democratic Party and Obama are supportive of reproductive rights, as well as gay and lesbian rights, where the Republican Party said we're going to hold on to traditional family values. And the Republican Party looks at privatizing education, where, reaching for the top is part of the Obama Democratic Party. It's really clear differences. One area that I would argue is more similar than was discussed earlier is the philosophy about the military. And while the Iraq situation is a credit for Obama, and there is a lowering of troops in Afghanistan, I think it's important to help stimulate our memories from the 60s and 70s by a government program called COINTELPRO. That's COINTELPRO. That's Counterintelligence Program. And as I think you probably know, it was an organized system to disrupt the Black liberation movement, as well as the student movement in the United States. There was a lot of surveillance went on, and there was even the promotion of physical violence leading to death of a number of people that were all CIA supported. Where Obama is not different, and I give credit to him for trying to limit military interventions, is he has an executive order that looks at increasing use of drones, increasing use of arrests of suspected persons, including Americans in foreign countries who are suspected of terrorism, but without a formal charge can be imprisoned. And we're looking at the use of special forces in different parts of the world. All of these really represent the worst of any government.
Yes.
Now, given all of this going on, your show works on education and sharing of information. That's the starting point. And what we've learned both from past decades is that information sharing needs to move into participation and organization to address these issues. And we have come, I would argue, a tremendous advancement. We couldn't even talk about these issues in late 1950s without being harassed. We ended a war in Vietnam. We ended segregation and apartheid. We elevated the rights of disabled people and the elderly in the United States. We supported women's rights and now gay and lesbian rights. We have made tremendous strides. I think locally we can look at the rail movement. And we have people that began by sharing information, having meetings, working in the court system as our sister did, getting a ruling in favor of stopping the rail. Now, I would suggest that there's a good chance that this rail system may increasingly be stopped as a result of actions by a relatively small number of people. I give you credit, Polka, because I have worked with you on this litmus test that we've talked about, and for the listening audience, I think they should be aware that we are really trying to provide a coherent, a well-worded document that I think will be done in the next week, and to put it on the website. This is a means where the public is invited to make their comments, make suggestions, and increase the information sharing. I think our next step is to then call a meeting where we can engage like the rail movement has done in Hawaii. How does this litmus test fit into other people's thinking? How do we modify it? How do we reach some consensus? And then what sort of actions do we take to really regain our empowerment as a society? And so, again, I want to, I would take off the air your comments, but I want to emphasize how important it is that we do what you're doing, sharing information, moving into looking at models for organization, whether it's the anti-war movement, the peace movement, the women's movement, and here, the movement on rail, which is grassroots, so that we can emulate them and create the sort of society we want in the future. And I'll take your comments off the air.
Okay, thank you very much for calling, and we'll be in touch. Aloha. And wow, that's that's a lot of information given out. Let me just summarize, and I very much appreciate these ways of categorizing that Michael has done previously. Elizabeth, another caller, has also tried to summarize, simplify, and yet categorize and juxtapose these positions, as well as other caller with all of that data on the fiscal side. But Michael, the recent caller, as he talks about these issues, I've been writing down, and I have these categories with regards to labor and labor unions. I have Democrats and Republicans. Democrats support, Republicans against. As to voucher system, Republicans support, Democrats are against. Both in terms of school as well as in terms of the social support system or the public health system. Oh, the pipeline traveling from Canada down through Texas, Republicans support, Democrats against. And what he has done is given us another sort of a checklist, and I think generally accurate checklist. Women's right, Republicans against, Democrats supportive. Gays and lesbian rights, Democrats support, Republicans against. Education, private education, Republicans support, Democrats against. And I know I'm not stating the issue all that clearly, but in general, of course, Democrats are supportive of private education as well, but not to the extent of government intervention and support towards that private education, more towards public education. Military and the military actions, Democrats are plus and minus, and I think that's part of the difficulty a lot of us have with the Obama administration, and yet generally against the military interventionist approach. The Republicans are far in support of military intervention, and so there's still a distinction between the Democrats and the Republicans. Where there is not as much distinction, it comes with regards to the Patriot Act, the respect for U.S. citizens and the rights of U.S. citizens and others in terms of human rights and the kind of stuff that have been occurring. Also the COINTELPRO and the use of that kind of tactic to spy upon, to invade, and that kind of stuff. The Republicans and the Democrats seem to be closer together in terms of supporting all the violation of U.S. citizens' rights, supporting the Patriot Act, and supporting the use of military. So I think in that case there is closer or not as much distance separating them. With regards to an equitable tax system, there's another term for it, and it's called the progressive tax system. Of course, the Democrats would support that, or Republicans are against that. They don't want any taxes. If they had their wishes, they would destroy the taxing system, it seems. All right, so that's my summary of, and I think it's effective when you come out with those clear standards. I wish there was sort of like a checklist or one of those, what do you call it, bookmarks you could see quite easily. And I may be wrong on some of these things, but that system of approaching Democrats and Republicans, you can see it more easily. Okay, we have all three lines lighted up. The third line, I'm sorry to say, I've had some difficulty getting the caller on. But let's take the calls and see how it turns out. We'll go to our first call on the first line. Aloha caller, welcome to the program. Hello caller, you're on the air. Hello caller. Okay, I'm going to put you on hold. You may have gotten a drink of water. Let's go to our next caller. Aloha caller, welcome to the program.
Yes, just a moment, Cook. I'd like to respond to what the previous person has just referred to in his statement about he brought in a litmus test for those being called or invited to the table, and I wondered if there was a bias against, I mean, that introduces the pH or the acid base, and is there a bias against anyone who has speech with an acid tongue? Because don't send the invitation if you even think of it. I wouldn't pass. Okay, I'd just like to know about that. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks for your call. And with regards to that litmus test, we have had several sit-downs and talks outside of the discussion on the radio, and the ball had been in my park or in my field, and I was supposed to have tried to write out in response to what Michael has come out with. I like his approach. He's very simplified and just hit it right on its point. I tend to be, I think, too verbose, or I'm talking philosophy. I want to talk about Dai and Ola, and then how it applies to this and that. And Michael has I think after reading both sides, perhaps a more effective, right to the point approach. We'll be sitting together again perhaps next week and talking about these things. So that's where the litmus test is at. And I think it should be more for just the upcoming election, but it should be as we look at public policy. using such simple ways of approaching it as litmus tests, and yet not stopping there. But of course, you can always go far deeper in terms of discussions. Let's see if I can get the next caller on the line. Hello? No, I cannot. That's been the problem. No, I'm sorry. I'm going to release that line, and that might be a signal for this person to call back, and I can't even release that line. Okay, let's go to our other caller. Aloha, caller.
Oh, hello.
Doing? Yes, there you are. Go ahead.
Yes, I think you've had some very interesting speakers this afternoon.
Thank you.
And I'm glad they all sound like Democrats. And I agree with the gentleman that called previously and the ones previous to that.
Mm-hmm.
And the lady that brought up the issue about values for the Republicans.
Yes.
And then she said more like statistics or just knowledge or whatever for Democrats.
Science and rationality, I think. Oh, that's what my notes show.
Rationality.
Yeah.
I don't quite agree totally.
Okay.
She makes a good point, however.
Mm-hmm.
Because as far as values go, okay, she said the Republicans were more on values, but today's values for the Republicans are horrendous.
Mm-hmm.
And to the point of obscenity, and then even some of the things that, as the candidates were running through, like Rick Perry, Santorum, etc., Gingrich, they're cheering at those people that yell, kill them, or whatever, or just let them die. That's the Republican value? And yes, so then the value of the Republicans and Democrats certainly are far apart, aren't they?
Yes.
And so then I thought, too, that the Democrats are more compassionate because as a party, they're the ones that have been for the poor and for the middle class. And America will fall apart, as I stated earlier. We need a large and strong middle class. And then as far as knowledge goes, it doesn't necessarily have to be academic knowledge. You just gotta get plain good old common sense, which is rare these days. And sometimes some of those people that are very educated don't have good common sense. So all you people, just use good common sense, and that way you can know right from wrong and just vote for the right party. And so I'm trying to say that people shouldn't be discouraged because they weren't so-called educated. Good old common sense will last you a whole lot longer.
I like it.
Yeah. So I'm still hoping though that I don't want democracy to be ruined, and there are a lot of things we can do, and people don't seem to appreciate because Barack Obama doesn't brag about his accomplishments. He needs to talk more about what he really truly has accomplished for everybody, the poor. And he seems to choose what is right rather than just straight party line. So that's good, and I'm glad that your station is available for people like us to call in, and voice our opinions so we can get some of that rage out of us.
Yeah, it's necessary. Yeah.
Well, I mean, just getting all that stuff that we have inside, and then just sort of sharing it with other people. It doesn't have to be rage. It can be something funny, or it can just be plain, just information. And a lot of people are getting so confused. So those people that were talking about that $716 billion billion of the health care. Yes, Obama will reuse that for Medicare and Social Security. However, the Republicans, Ryan and Romney, will use that $716 billion to enrich the wealthiest 1 to 2%.
Yeah.
They will enrich them by giving them tax cuts.
You know, at this time, I'm watching the time, and we're almost going off the air. So I want to invite you to call in again. We will continue with our program tomorrow morning from 6 to 8 in the morning. And so I'm going to have to terminate your call at this time.
I was just finished anyway. But thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for your call.
All
Take
right.
care.
Bye-bye. Yes.
And I know we have another caller, but we have less than a minute to go. So with my apologies to that last caller, we will continue with this discussion and other discussions in our next program. And that next program will be tomorrow morning, Sunday morning. We start at 6 o'clock and we continue to 8 o'clock. So if you have the opportunity, please join us. And I want to thank all of you for giving me the opportunity to be heard in your private places, whether it's in your home, in your car, down the beach, or wherever you are. And I want to thank all of those who have called and participated for sharing your thoughts and allowing it to be spread in the public arena of discourse and to be challenged, to be considered, to be discussed about.
Mai ka elele o ka loko ino Pala pala anunu me ka paka